Had a flaker not show up for us, so I had to get you to fill in for me.
Happened to be close.
Well, this is your birthday weekend that we're filming this on. It's a big weekend coming up. I'm coming out of dry months for this.
You are.
Yeah.
It means a lot to me.
You know what? I'm thinking that if this airs, it might end up airing coincidentally on my birthday weekend.
Interesting.
That would be nice.
That would be nice. Maybe what I'll do is I'll go dry after my birthday until your birthday.
I don't believe it. You have anything to say about yourself, Herwig?
Herwig, you're awesome.
Delicious smoothie without any alcohol.
You gotta take it to your grave, huh?
He's back on.
No, screenshots of close friends,
I'm
bro.
driving the bus.
You know this is going in the trailer, right? For,
It says I drank any of this, and they all could have been water.
it says in
I could have been
the
drinking
it
sparkling water the entire
it says in the picture I failed. Are you about to?
Welcome to my block. I'm John Pittman, the token advisor, but I'm also a bartender at one of the hottest spots in Miami. Here, I welcome guests from around the world to open the tab and hang around for a cocktail and some conversation.
Oh, look who it is.
John Pitt himself. What's going on?
Usual suspects. You know what? Before you get started, I already know what you want, man. Now, here you go.
Man, this is exactly what I want right now.
Casamigos espresso martini, pick you up.
I'm just doing this by myself.
You know what? I got like a little cocktail tonic. All right, yeah, here we go.
That's
Cheers.
what I thought.
Cheers, cheers.
Cheers, bro.
Well, had a flaker not show up for us, so I had to get you to fill in for me.
Happened to be close.
Ironically. Well, this is your birthday weekend that we're filming this on. It's a big weekend coming up. I'm coming out of dry month for this.
You are.
Yeah.
It means a lot to me.
You know what? I'm thinking that if this airs, it might end up airing coincidentally on my birthday weekend.
Interesting.
That would be nice.
That would be nice. Maybe what I'll do is I'll go dry after my birthday until your birthday.
I don't believe it. Are you about to? I felt wager energy coming right now.
Well, hold on. How much are we talking? Talking crypto?
He's got it. I was like, crypto now. I thought you was a token boy.
I'm probably going to be the only guest on the show that finishes their drink during the interview.
Can I get another one? That'd be nice. That'd be a nice award to give somebody like, yo, I just went through 3 of these.
First of all, it has to be said that you are brilliant. And it is an easy cheat code. You just add tequila into any amazing drink. But it's an amazing, brilliant discovery. And you deserve all the credit. First time I had old fashioned with Casamigos, which changed my world. Baseline tequila the entire night, that's a huge deal.
Yeah.
And then, most people know I don't drink coffee. So I never drink espresso martinis. But then, of course, add a little Casa in there.
And the espresso martini, I mean, obviously the taste is there, but it's the utility behind it. It's like you've been drinking all day, or you've been working all day. You get one of those, I think the best time is probably between 7 and 8 p.m. That's when it, or for brunch, obviously.
You know what? It's kind of like the grown-up vodka soda or vodka Red Bull.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? It's like you want to join, pick me up.
As a bartender, if somebody orders a vodka Red Bull, I know they're choosing violence. Yeah, this guy's gonna get kicked out somewhere tonight.
Not choosing violence today. It's too early for that.
This is how we make a Casamigos espresso martini. So, what do we talk about? So you started security token advisors. Let's talk about this. Wind us back. Let's get the origin story. Let's get the villain arc.
Oh, you want
Yeah.
the
So you went to UM. That's what got you to Miami. Graduated with a degree in.
Management and entrepreneurship.
All right. And then you went straight into. I know you had the launch pad also. Were you still working with that after you graduated, or did you kind of like move on to?
I bring up this thing, the launch pad. The launch pad is super cool.
Yeah.
It started at the University of Miami, and the program came about because most universities, they have career services, but for the students, right? Hey, let me polish your resume, how you get good at an interview. But when you're an entrepreneur, you don't have a resume and you're not interviewing with anyone, right? So instead, career services for entrepreneurs looks a little bit more like consulting. Where you got to sit down with somebody and say, how do I figure out how I get a team, how I build something, how I figure out a financial model, how I raise money, how do I figure out my market, how do I figure out my customer, the list goes on. So I had a background already working for startups by the time I got to University of Miami. So I was fortunate enough for the Launchpad needed someone on the other side of the table who would sit down with students and alumni. So it was a free service for life, where if you had a business or an idea, no matter who you are, as long as you're a student or alumni, you can sit down with us and figure out how can I start this business. And so that's really cool because that's the first of its kind career services for entrepreneurs. Other universities actually came in, copied the model with them. I was training other people on how to do this at other schools. And then BlackRock, which is a $1 trillion asset manager, came in and bought the business model, nonprofit-wise, and spread it to UCLA and many other major universities across the country. So it's an awesome program, but I'll tell you the one thing when you work there, you want to start a business yourself.
Yeah. You just getting all these ideas, and eventually you just started coming up with your own ideas or a combination of ideas.
Right.
Yeah.
People do it wrong. You're like, nah, I can do this.
Were there investors in the meeting too when they're pitching these ideas, or they're just like pitching you and just like, yo, this is what you need to work on?
That's right. It was always one-on-one. It was like a free sounding dashboard, we like to call it. Because I'm not here to tell you do this, do that, here's how you make money. I'd be like, John, have you thought about what your price point is? How did you come up with that number? And it's just to make you think, usually it's first-time entrepreneurs, all right, how do I go about doing this in the first place? Because it's daunting, it's scary to launch a business.
Yeah.
It's also super exciting. So if you have support and people that can help you, it makes it a lot easier.
So let's talk about starting business. Let's talk about your first business that you started.
All right, my first business was a lemonade stand.
Of course.
Can't get back that. No, like I said, at the Launchpad, you want to start your own business. So when I was a sophomore at University of Miami, a major shift happened in the landscape of raising money. Privately and publicly, a new law had been passed by the government. This was 2012, the Jobs Act, which was passed unanimously, which is like unheard of back then, especially to this day, but passed unanimously to change these laws so that we can enable new ways to raise money, both from the crowd as well as publicly, otherwise called equity crowdfunding. So this had passed just at the time I learned about it. I'm thinking, hey, a bunch of these student entrepreneurs could use this to raise money for their businesses as opposed to go to different investors and raise money, right? So I actually started to build a crowdfunding platform, trying to help students raise money, and I realized that as part of this new law, I needed a technology to verify my investors. This was so brand new, bleeding edge that nobody was doing this at all. And it just so happened to be one of the partners that I worked with at the Launchpad was a JD MBA, an attorney. His name's Adrian. You know him well. We get to work with him as Herwig advisors now. He was my boss then, now I'm his boss. And we both started a business together that we run together to this day called InvestReady, which is essentially a compliance software for anyone raising money online. You need to check whether your investors qualify, and we provide that qualification service. And that might mean checking your security, social security number, your income, your assets, credit reports. So that's sensitive stuff. So we were like the middleman so that we could safely let you verify your status without having to share it out with everybody. And that's what got me into the whole world of fundraising, capital markets, VC, all that good stuff.
That's it. So obviously you work in blockchain now, and you were doing equity crowdfunding then. How did these two industries in your life, how did they meet?
That's a great question. So because my business was helping people raise money or providing software that helped people raise money, my job was to get familiar with crowdfunding portals, angel groups, anyone raising money, investment programs. So locally in Miami, I got very involved in the tech scene as well as the venture capital scene. Now here's the thing. This was 7, 8, 9 years ago now. There was no tech scene and there was no venture capital scene.
That's what I'm trying to hear though.
The same people on the same hand, right? So because of that, I got super plugged in super early. In fact, the reason that I stayed in Miami instead of going to the Valley or New York was to be a big fish in a small pond. And that slowly started to grow. And as one of the emerging technologies of blockchain started to become more and more prevalent, I was exposed very early on to people who were investing in that space, doing stuff with that technology. And then around 2016, 2017, the ICO world, initial coin offerings, where you can use the same technology behind Bitcoin, tokens, to raise money from pretty much anyone who had the ability to digitally give you money as well and trade for one of those tokens. So that was massive. Billions of dollars were raised around the world. And me, in my corner of like compliance, I'm sitting here being like, what's going on here? Like, this seems mega illegal. Turns out it was mega illegal. And the SEC went after a bunch of projects that raised billions to projects that raised millions. But before they started going after everybody, somebody, a local entrepreneur, Brian Brackey, who I hope we can get on this show.
Mikhail Solomon, she talked about him on the first episode.
Right, in fact, she was referred to us by Brian.
Okay.
Because I worked with Brian, he had a facial recognition company called Kairos, and they were raising their Series B, and they didn't want to do it the traditional way. They wanted to raise it via an ICO. I'm like, dude, you can't do it that way.
He's just seeing everybody make a lot of money, raising money on ICOs, like, y'all have to get in.
This is a great opportunity, why not? He's savvy to see that there's a big trend happening. You know, how do I take advantage of it? But he was wise enough to be like, look, I gotta do it the right way. I don't wanna, risk the business, I have shareholders, I don't wanna risk anything for my own sake. So I wanna do it the right way. And I told him, look, you wanna do it the right way, we gotta follow this Jobs Act way, this equity crowdfunding way. And we combined the two models. It's one of the first of its kind. It was one of the first security token offerings in history because they tokenized their equity. So instead of just raising money behind a coin that didn't have any real value attached to it, we're talking about shares in the business itself that could become worth 10, 50, 100 times, 1,000 times worth more than what they are today. So that's a huge opportunity because you have rights, you have protections, you have a real investment in the business through this token, and they raised successfully $7 million in less than 2 weeks.
So you said you combined both of the processes. Was this like a double listing? Is that what I'm hearing?
That was a dual
listing.
Dual offering.
What does that mean exactly?
So not to get too complicated, but again, we have this idea of a token with value, the stock, the shares in the business, and then we have this other token that is only necessarily valued based on the utility behind it. And back in the ICO days, many of these tokens, they promised utility, but they didn't have any. And in this case, they were promising another utility token that would be used within the infrastructure, within the platform. And so that was a different value proposition, but the pitch was you get to invest in the equity and you get this as a bonus. As opposed to you're investing in this, which is really like, we're not certain about this. What is certain is you've got something that gives you real value.
Okay. But with the second point, they could have the opportunity to trade that maybe for a profit.
Attractive
bonus.
That's what I think. Because you got a little bit of chance of
Yeah, so fast forward, I guess, to 2022. You've advised a few of these security token offerings. What have you seen as far as the change across the landscape when it comes to blockchain crowdfunding? Has it become easier? Has it become more streamlined? Businesses, are they less apprehensive in taking this route?
This is all education. So, kind of put it in context. I told you earlier about how this equity crowdfunding thing is kind of a new innovation. To this day, roughly 2+ trillion, with a T, not a B, $2 trillion per year is raised in private markets. So not on the stock market, not via IPOs, but real estate deals, funds, startups, all the stuff that's happening behind the scenes that none of us know about and none of us really have access to. $2 trillion a year. When this new innovation came out with equity crowdfunding, it was doing a few billion a year. Fast forward to today, We're talking about a little over 100 billion plus a year using these new equity crowdfunding kind of exemptions. Okay, 100 billion is good. It's not really much compared to 2 trillion.
Yeah.
So this is just education, right? And what I saw as an opportunity with tokenization is that this has a global trend. This isn't just one region, passing laws. Europe already had equity crowdfunding laws. The US caught up with their own. But security tokens, that's a global thing. You can have existing capital markets all around the world, and they can just tokenize. They don't need to pass legislation to do that. So this is potentially a trend that's going to get adopted much faster because this can happen globally, and as a result, you've got people seeing what's working, and you want to copy that as quickly as possible. So in the United States, in Europe, in Asia, in Africa, in South America, everywhere around the world, they now have a chance to leverage the same technology to open up access to their securities, their stocks, their assets, which is a game changer. I mean, that just wasn't possible.
What industries are taking advantage of this technology the most right now, and who do you think would be the next wave and possibly the last?
You know the keyword is the most, because any industry can take advantage of this technology, as you know. But real estate is one of the easiest to digest, right? Instead of betting on a high-flying stock that nobody really knows about, what we all do know is real estate. One of the safest and pretty much most sound ways to get a return that's decent and build wealth, right? Property. So you have a real asset that it can be sold on the market as opposed to a private stock, where you have a company that you now need to find somebody, convince them about the business model, convince them about the value, they can trade it. With a house, you have a bunch of similar houses, they have their own prices, there's a market for it, and it's much easier to find someone to sell it. So now you've got a real asset behind it. So when you invest in that real asset, you're probably not going to lose your money.
Yeah.
That's already a great win for an investment, right? Now it's about how much can I earn? Well, real estate can do tremendously well, or it can do relatively stable. So that's a risk-reward profile that's very different from betting on a high-flying stock or even trading in the public markets, etc. Right? That's versus an extremely safe investment like a 401k, or you got an IRA or something that you're not touching forever. Real estate, you kind of have the hybrid growth world. The biggest problem with real estate is you can't day trade it.
Yeah.
You can't necessarily take advantage of it like that. You still have to go through a real estate agent, you sell the house, and eventually you have something that's valuable. And the banks and other players can count on that because they know, again, that there's an industry and a market around it. So that's a big deal, but if you can make tokenization around housing happen, you're not talking about creating a stock market for houses. So even better. Now, some people can own a piece of your house. You can find a lender much easier instead of just a bank. You're talking about opening up your asset to anyone else around the world who plays within that ecosystem.
So hypothetically, could somebody, if they had a house and they wanted some cash right now, could they list just a portion of their house on one of these markets? Theoretically.
They could. In principle, they could. And that market of who could buy their home could be you.
Yeah.
It could be a family office, which is a very, wealthy individual family. It could be an institution. It could be Wall Street. It could be a fund in Japan. It could be anywhere around the world. Suddenly they're like, you know what? I just want one small piece, $50, $100 worth of John's house in my portfolio. That's a game changer because before I probably would have to go and buy your entire house.
Yeah.
If I'm looking to get exposure to, say, multifamily homes, I'm probably going through multiple layers like a fund who already owns a portfolio so that I don't have to go in and do all these steps. When everything's tokenized, it's plug and play. It's like, I want a piece of this, I want a piece of this, let me get some of this. I'll take a bit of the Empire State Building, like let me get some of this Hong Kong hotel, the Four Seasons in Miami, some of Moxie's, you can just plug and play. This would be impossible to do when I have to go through lawyers, when I have to go through different regulators, all these different things.
So what are some of the fun benefits? You mentioned Moxie's, having shares in Moxie's, and maybe, I guess, putting Moxie's in a tokenized format. What are some of the things that you can play around with that to kind of make that an attractive experience for an investor?
I mean, in many different ways could you make that attractive. The way we talk to our clients on the consulting side is who are you trying to reach from an investor perspective, right? Because In principle, we could make it possible so that anyone in the entire world can buy your token.
Yeah.
But are you going to be able to reach everybody in the entire world with your marketing plan?
Yeah.
That's going to take a lot. So it's about who you want as your target. In the example of Moxie's, you've got people like me who are commonly coming here, let's say, on a regular basis.
I don't even know who you are.
I don't come here that often. But you have loyal customers. Every business usually does. And on top of being able to say, hey, I want to be able to invest in this business, which again, before today and before 8 years ago with these new laws, it was next to impossible for anybody to invest in a restaurant easily. Now you can, and now for the first time ever, I can invest in the business without being stuck in the business because I get a token in return, and if I want out, I can find you or someone else to sell it to. That's a huge game changer because now I don't need my customers to commit. But on top of that, you have something that I love. I call it customer stock option plan. So instead of being an employee and working for a business and getting stock, as a customer, I'm being part of the business by being a customer, and I get stock in return as well. And this is personally where it all comes full circle, because if we go back to the ICO story, what people love the most about ICOs, other than potentially like the market manipulators and the fraudsters, is that there was an alignment of vision. I'm a shareholder in the project and I'm a user of the tokens. So for the first time ever, I can be an investor in the restaurant and I get a piece of the restaurant. That's an alignment for a customer that's never happened before. And if you can align benefits further, so now I get some discounts, special priority seating. If I own enough Apple stock, I get a certain benefit. Same principle, they already have their Apple card. Very simply they say, if you have enough stock, they could easily blend that into the infrastructure so that now I get discounts for owning stock as opposed to just being a credit card user. All kinds of perks.
So, well, cheers to Moxie's.
Cheers to Moxie's.
Ready for a shot or what? It's your birthday.
Not ready.
Let's do it. Go trip. Here's a shot, birthday shot. It's kind of like a Paloma. But let's wrap it up. Oh, you don't know? Like innocent you are. Basically, grapefruit juice, a little bit of sweet and sour, and tequila.
Cheers.
Cheers. Cool. Let's wrap it up. Let's talk about security advisors. What exactly is their role in this industry?
So Security Token Advisors is here to help make security tokens happen. It's actually the mission across all our companies, which is we believe digital securities and security tokens are the future of all capital markets, and we want to see the adoption of that. And consulting is the best way we can make that happen, because if you're an asset manager or an investor or a real estate developer or a business owner or alternative asset owners such as art or minerals or all kinds of things, when it comes to raising money via token offering, it's not like you're going to go to your lawyer or you're just going to go to a website and boom, bada boom, you have a security token. This has got to be registered with the SEC through some kind of an exemption or actual registration. You have blockchain, you have crowdfunding, you have fintech, you have compliance technology, you have lawyers and structuring, and the way you want to be tax smart for global investors. You have now a whole new host of exchanges, marketplaces. You have a new way you have to communicate to investors. So investor relations is entirely different. Meanwhile, the way you actually host your offering can be done through a website or through a third party or through your phone. Whatever it may be, there's a million different ways you can do this. There's only so many providers that know how to do this. Mm-hmm. Security Token Advisors acts as your guardian angel, your project manager, to help you figure out what's the structure, what technology do I need, who do I need to use, and how do I bring this offering to market the right way, as successfully as possible, using the best practices. As you know, John, nobody's been doing this. For the last 3 or 4 years, there have been maybe less than 1,000 security token offerings. So there's very few people in the entire planet that have actually been part of such an offering, such an experience. And there are so many nuances and so many mistakes and so many resources and costs that come from all these problems, that the reality is you need someone like us to help you get it done on time, get it done right, and get it done cost effectively. And that's the role Security Token Advisors plays, just pure play consultants. We don't pick winners, we don't pick losers, we're just here to educate
And execute.
and help the guys in security.
I know you mentioned a couple companies we also know about security token market, which is what we're watching this podcast on right now. But I think it needs to be noted that with that and security token advisors, we've pretty much seen a ton of security token offerings, the structure, and like kind of taking that information and use that as a weapon to help advise our clients.
What have been some of your favorite use cases?
My use cases, security tokens.
Yeah.
Honestly, same thing that you mentioned with Moxies and how it's really bringing the consumer closer to the issuer. I think a lot of times, I heard somebody use the analogy of Uber, like how Uber kind of picks up the passenger using the driver's car, but with security tokens, we kind of get rid of Uber. Now we're connecting the passenger to the driver. And now I'm paying this driver, but I'm getting a ride in return. So I think the same thing can be used in a sense with how tokenization is going to bring that format to our everyday lives and a lot of the businesses that we frequent. And even I work here, I come to Moxies a lot too, so I would like to own it.
I think you're spot on. I'm a little biased.
Yeah, I know which part.
On tokenization, but
I'm thinking now that a lot of these companies who are unfamiliar with blockchain, but they hear a lot of these trendy words, crypto, NFT, things like that. I'm thinking that maybe it would be nice if we start like kind of bringing them into the security token ecosystem by like, you know what, let's use a trendy word, let's integrate it into your business, get you familiar with the technology. What do you think about that idea?
This is what I love about NFTs.
Yeah.
I like to call them baby security tokens. The idea that you can make money from a royalty, or from the fact that there might be a secondary market because what I own might increase in value and because there's a limited supply of it, someone else might want to buy it. All of these are new concepts that when it comes to creating wealth, and this is more of an issue than ever today when it comes to the widening wealth gap, right? Crypto is one of the all best ways to reduce that and enable new ways to create wealth as well as to create credit, to get banked, to be able to participate in society. Blockchain is the new infrastructure that the entire banking and capital market system is going to be built on. So I love NFTs because, again, education. It's just teaching people what is tokenization, how do I use it. In this case, I'm using it for an image, or I'm using it to get a discount at a restaurant, or I'm using it in this case. Now if we just upgrade that, so it's like, I marry a stock to tokenization, people will start to get it, and that's when we start to take advantage of all these new applications. So that's what I think it all is. It's just a matter of time, and it's a matter of big use cases where it's about education, where people get it. I
mean, the ICO phase had to happen first for the NFT phase to get here, and now we got to go through the NFT phase. We got to flesh it out, and then people will definitely see the value of security tokens.
There will be a major crypto company. Coinbase didn't do it, but it could be another one. Coinbase IPO'd, and they could have done a security token.
Right.
And gone liquid with their own platform, with their own system, with their own technology. But instead they decided to use the old infrastructure. There will be a major
crypto company. I know Fusang, they did an IPO.
Fusang does this, but I'm talking bigger.
Yeah.
Millions of customers.
FTX does it. FTX kind of runs Miami.
Possibility, Gemini, many others that are in a position to do this. And if they do it, again, that's one of those major ways that people say, oh, this is great. And once people start making money, that's what I always like to say, that's when it's game over.
So, game over. That's it.
Let's do it. As always,
all right, enjoy your birthday.
I'll see you probably in a few hours.
Yeah.
Cheers.